Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Waiting Room. This is a show that challenges you to thrive, not just survive in every area of your life. This is your host, Ruem, and in this podcast, I'll be talking about the lessons we learn from waiting in every season of life. How we wait is more important than the wait itself, so waiting well is what matters. In this episode, I will be talking about singleness and loneliness. This episode was inspired by a survey I recently did while working on the singles series. And so I asked a handful of singles in my circle of influence, what are some of the struggles that singles face that you think don't get talked about enough? And this is, a question that I want to keep asking more often because I feel like, singles, it's almost taboo to talk about singleness and talk about the struggles of singleness. You just have to kind of deal with it. It's like, married couples can talk about the, ups and downs of marriages and parenting and all of that. But for some reason, if a single person talks about their state of singleness, it's like people don't know how to handle that, but we need to just be honest and talk about the things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, because we're not the only ones going through this season, and we can help each other. And the responses were almost unanimous. Most of them, I'd say 80% of them, said loneliness. And this is something that we all deal with. And I think not just for singles, but for anybody. Loneliness is just a human issue, not really pertaining to your marital status. It comes down to, being created to have relationships. So God made man and he made woman. He gave them a relationship, and he said it's not good for man to be alone, and God also created us to have a relationship with him. So I think what happens a lot of times is if we look to people to fill that loneliness, will come up empty. But if we put our trust in God and we rely on him, yes, we might be alone, but you're never really lonely. So there's a difference between being alone and being lonely. So I wasn't surprised by the responses, but just hearing them from different people, and they didn't talk about their answers, just kind of made me sad. It broke my heart a little bit, because this is something that I've dealt with and a lot of people are dealing with, but yet we're just kind of suffering in silence. So there's this misconception that relationship will remove all loneliness, which is not true. That's completely false. There are many people out there in good, solid relationships, good marriages, but yet they find themselves lonely. So it's not just about being with somebody. It's more about finding your peace in God and knowing who you are in yourself and your worth in him. And if you enter a relationship thinking that the other person is going to fix these feelings of loneliness and you'll never feel alone again and you'll always be content, you're kind of setting yourself up for disappointment, because that's not the case, and it's a very unrealistic approach, and you'll end up disillusioned and discouraged. Yes, you can get companionship and friendship, and there's intimacy in relationship and all of those things, but deep down inside, you will still be empty if you're putting all of that in a person, when it should come from God, your creator, because nothing else can fill that void. You could be in a room full of people and still be lonely. So I think the important thing to ask is, why do we feel so lonely? And then get to the bottom. Is it because we feel like we're not loved? Is it because of past failed relationships, childhood trauma, codependency issues? So I think if we can get to the bottom of it, that will help us to just find that peace, and knowing I'm alone, but I'm not lonely. And I think some of the dangers of being super focused on your loneliness are very subtle and you might not realize it, but they affect every other area of your life. So, if you always focus on your loneliness and what you don't have and you're not in a relationship, you can lose sight of the big picture. There's a big world around you. There's so much going on that you can embrace and you can learn and you can explore, you can experience. You have people in your life that you can have rich relationships with. Also, focusing on loneliness opens you up to self-pity and self-pity. So the focus is on yourself, and this can lead to entitlement, which can lead to sin. So a lot of times when people fall into sin, whether it's pornography or sex outside of God's plan, God's design, sex outside of marriage, or if it's like careless spending and like beyond your budget, or substance abuse, or whatever it is, a lot of times we justify because you're like, oh, I'm lonely and this is going to make me feel better, or I deserve. We don't deserve anything, really, when you think about it, but a lot of times that's what people are thinking, like, oh, I deserve to be happy, I deserve to feel a certain way, I deserve this and that, and then that usually opens us up to other things, sin, because you feel like, oh, well, this is gonna fill that void. So this is mainly for singles, but if you're married, hey, it applies. Like I said, it's something that we have to deal with on a human level regardless of our relationship status. But I came up with a few things that you can do when you are feeling lonely and just try to get out of your own head. Okay, so number one, just pray, read your Bible, spend uninterrupted time with God. And so if you're single, this is a season that you want to spend more time getting closer to God, and it's what I would call the calm before the storm, because once you get married and you start having kids and a family, your time is divided, your attention is divided, your spouse, your kids, a house, all of these other commitments. But right now during the season, you can just grow a deeper relationship with God. I'm not saying that won't happen when you are married or in a relationship, but I'll just say you just have more distractions and more things are vying for your time. Number two, reach out to a friend, especially another lonely friend. There are people around us who are just as lonely as we are. Send a text message, call a friend, hang out with somebody. It doesn't have to be something big. Just have somebody over, or go out, go play sports, or go walk around, window shop, whatever it is. But reach out, be a friend. If you want a friend, you have to be a friend. You have to be friendly. So you kind of have to sow those seeds of friendliness and friendship in order to reap those benefits. Another thing you could focus on is working out. Go for a run, go to the gym, or find some physical activity, because we know that exercise gives you endorphins, and endorphins make you happy. So we want more of those feel-good hormones, and working out is really good and helps you, just your brain and your mood, your body, all around. So another thing you could do is read a book, learn something new, something outside of your comfort zone, learn a skill or something like that. So pick up a non-fiction book to read, get lost in a foreign land somewhere in those pages. Something else you could do is travel. Take a day trip, a weekend trip or something. Just explore your city, the city that you live in, go places that you've never been. You can volunteer as well. There are a lot of people in need out there, and there are a lot of volunteer organizations in almost every city. So go out and take the focus off yourself, because there are more lonely people out there, and if you can just be a friend, you'll be amazed how much that will help you. Also, trying something new. Write a poem, write a song, learn an instrument. The list is endless. In short, what I'm saying is just take your eyes off your current situation for a moment. Take your eyes off yourself and don't focus on what you don't have. Instead, embrace what you do have. Cherish the friendships that have been given to you, the time that you have to really do whatever. You can spend more time with God, spend time with your friends and family, spend time being productive, exercising or playing an instrument, reading a book. I think we get so blinded and we get so focused on that one thing that we think we need, and then we totally lose sight of everything else. So loneliness, like I said, is something that we are always going to have to deal with. And, to all my singles out there, I know what it's like. And I'm not saying that doing all these things will remove the feeling of loneliness, but it'll just help you change your perspective of life and see the bigger picture and just enjoy life to the fullest and be in the moment instead of always waiting for the next best thing. Just, be the best version you are at that time. So I put 5 Bible verses together that have helped me in my season, at different times in my season of singleness and loneliness. And I usually drop a verse or two, but this time I have 5. Deuteronomy 31:6. It says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God goes with you, and he will never leave you nor forsake you." That's God's promises. That's your creator. He is always by your side. So even if you have nobody, God is always with you. So you're never truly alone, And if you have God, you have everything. Okay. And sometimes we might not realize how important that is because we're focused on tangible things. We want to be with somebody we can see, we can touch, we can talk to. But even though we cannot see God with our naked eye, we can see what he's doing in our lives and how he's touching our lives and changing our lives and what he's doing. So he's always going to be by your side and never forsake you. Psalm 68:5-6, it says, "A father to the fatherless, a defender of widows, is God in his holy dwelling. He sets the lonely in families and leads out the prisoners with singing, but the rebellious live in sun-scorched land." So this one has been so real to me because, having lost both parents, I realized that God really is the father to the fatherless. And he has blessed me with, friends and families that I call my family. And I have my best friend and her family, husband and kids and stuff. They're really like my family. So that's been a blessing and, helps with knowing that I have some sense of belonging and community. And this is why I think it's so important that marrieds and families, like couples and families, invite singles into their lives. I mentioned this in previous episodes, but the way God set up the church, and even if it's a single person, they can have family. And couples, married people, need to make it a point, I think, to go out of their way and invite a single person, maybe one or two, and just kind of make them part of their family while they're in the season. And number 3, 1 Peter 5:7, "Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you." So he knows what you're going through, your anxieties, your fears, all of those. Just talk to God, give it to him, and he will care for you, and he will always be by your side. Psalm 147:3, "He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds." Okay, so he's always there. If you're heartbroken, if you're sad, if you're going through a breakup, or whatever the situation is, he will heal your heart and he will help you, not another person. If you look to another person to heal you, that's not gonna help you very much. Okay. So this last one has more to do with what I mentioned earlier. When we are so focused on loneliness, we fall into self-pity, and then that can open us up for entitlement, feelings of entitlement, and falling into sin because we're trying to, justify what we deserve. But Hebrews 4:15-16 says, "We do not have a high priest who is unable to empathize with our weaknesses, but we do have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are, yet he did not sin. Let us then approach God's throne of grace with confidence, that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need. So when those feelings of self-pity and loneliness and all of that entitlement come, just turn to God, approach his throne, talk to him, and he will help you. His grace will help you in your time of need, whatever that need is, because he's so faithful. And this is something, like I said, it really hit close to home, because you know people are alone, people are single, but nobody really talks about their loneliness. And I know I have been lonely just like everybody else, and I have fallen into the trap of self-pity, and when I'm moody, and I've been moody or whatever it is. But the important thing is not to stay there. I think once you recognize what's going on, just talk to God and repent and get back to where you need to be, and change your focus and find something else, the bigger picture to focus on. So that's pretty much it. So if you're out there and you're in this season of loneliness, know that you're not alone. Look around and find somebody you can be a friend to, and build relationships with people around you. Don't focus so much on what you don't have. This week I want to recommend a different book. I know I've been recommending the intentional relationships for singles, but just to switch things up, I don't know if you have seen the movie Priceless by Joel and Luke Smallbone for King and Country, but there's a book that goes with it. And so it's priceless. She's worth waiting for. There's an affiliate link in the description, so you can get it from Thrift Books. I definitely recommend the book and the movie. Both are equally good, but of course the book always has a little bit more detail, more context and backstory. So and I encourage you to read that. It addresses a very important problem that is plaguing our nation, our world, actually, not just our nation, but this is an issue that is impacting people all over the world. So pick up the book Priceless and read it. And that is it for today's episode, folks. Thank you for joining me here in the waiting room. Tune back in on my next episode. In the meantime, I need your help getting this podcast to as many listeners as possible. So if you would right now share this with a friend or somebody you think would listen. Also, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts if you're listening there. I would love to hear your feedback. Maybe share your experience, your stories of loneliness, singleness, and loneliness, or what has helped you overcome this overwhelming feeling of loneliness when you were single. So you can email me, or you can message me on Instagram or on my website. The links are in the description. Until then, take care.